historical topic because I think it's very interesting to start to have the discussion about GenG in the ranks of the greatest teams of all time, because as many of our listeners know, we actually did with Dom do kind of a ranking of the greatest teams of all time, and much to the annoyance of many of you last year, we actually ranked JDG last year as the best team of all time, even though they lost Worlds to T1, which of course then pissed off all the T1 fans. How's that going for you now, T1 fans? How's this roster doing since Worlds? Just gonna say, maybe if, and we said, if T1 continues this role, maybe they are the best team of all time. Well, it's not going great. It's not going great, guys. But I think we do have to say, all right, we're looking at a GenG team, this iteration of the roster. Obviously, a couple of members are still there from before, from last year in Chovy and Pays. They replace everyone else. I mean, Lehens was there 2 years ago. Now he's come back, obviously. So there is established synergy, at least with Chovy. But obviously, when Lehens was there, he was there with Ruler previously. And then we have Canyon, a player who many consider to be the greatest jungler of all time, World's final MVP, right? And Keen, who has been kind of criminally underrated throughout his career. And finally, I think people are realizing exactly how much value he brings to a good team because of his versatility and his very unselfish play style. And so if this team is going to, right now win a title in Korea, and then we're going to see them immediately transition over to an MSI win, they look amazing in this meta. It is hard to conceive, unless there is a big meta shift, that they're not going to win the esport. I mean, the meta shift isn't coming for the esports World Cup, which starts next week, guys. And then after that, beyond that, what are we looking at? Are we looking at, if the meta doesn't shift, is this a summer win? Is this going to be, we won't see AP junglers all the way into summer playoffs and Worlds, but you never know. And so what happens if they Golden Road? Is this the best team of all time? Thoughts, Thorin? What would it take for them for you?
I mean, the interesting thing about it is, even the initial thought I had doesn't really make sense. For example, the initial thought I had was this, Monty. The reason why I think most of us actually opted into the JDG pick, even though they never did win Worlds, which is the biggest accomplishment, is because a massive part of it was, if you watched how they played, they looked like essentially, we've made this point many times, but I can't overemphasize it. The way that all the players were playing their best role, but then fitting together, was so incredible. I've always said, 369 and people like that, the way they fit together, even missing, was fucking mega that year, mate. That's the other thing. Every aspect of what makes a team, how you fit together, how you play throughout the game, your coherence, or know what to do on the set. That's one of the factors that gives it. So the immediate reason, I feel a repulsion to say it's not the greatest team ever, even if the Gold Road, this one, Monty, is because you watch it, and a lot of it is Chovy being the best, right? If you put anyone other than Chovy, they probably aren't even winning, quite frankly. They'd be very good still, they'd be a contender, but the thing is, he is the parallel discussion, by the way, if the Golden Road is he the greatest player of all time in this year? This year might be the best year ever for an individual player. But even then, I realize you can't really then just say that doesn't make you a great team, though, because couldn't you say the same thing about a Michael Jordan Bulls team or something? They weren't going 5 team players deep with all stars. So to be fair, you could still be the best team and have the best player ever. So I think they'd certainly be a contender for it. Because if you even think of the way they're doing it, Monty, they haven't lost a series so far, and in fucking LCK they haven't lost a game. So I mean, admittedly, they're playing right now, so they could do the funniest thing ever and make that wrong in real time. But they haven't even lost a game so far. And remember, guys, in BO3s, it's actually standard in fucking LCK. You lose the odd one here and there, especially when you play the big teams. So, actually, right now, they might be better than ever. Pretty sweet. You can absolutely, Monty, I think, unironically ask this question, which is, if you put a pin in it right this moment, is this the best LCK team ever? They'd be up there. They'd be fucking up there, mate. I tell you what, it's pretty good. Because as you say, you look at all the players, it's not like it's the perfect team and how it's constructed, but the way they play together, it is very impressive. They're not one-dimensional like people want to believe.
Yeah, and obviously this meta is empowering them, and they look, I think, especially coming off of MSI, you're okay, this is the best team in the world, but then there was a meta shift, and right now I would say it is hard, and we talked about this on Power Spike, to kind of rank 2 and 3 in the world right now, but it's not hard to rank number 1. It's not hard to rank number 1 because if anything, this meta has just empowered GenG further. And it certainly is a weird meta. We're not going to get a lot of metas over the years that are AP jungle, double AD focused. right? Which is also, it's not just about Canyon, it's about Chovy being super good at some of these champions that are meta right now. And we keep seeing him play mid Lucian and some of these other kind of unorthodox picks. But they were winning before this meta. And when we talk about JDG last year, I think for many analysts, what is so compelling about JDG was that it was like they were the team with just the perfect fundamentals. It was like typical all metas, League of Legends, front to back team fighting, right? Weak side top laning, incredible AD carry play, incredible mid laner. And it just felt like they were the best team ever at just standard play, which is why you rank them so highly. It just felt like, T1 won, but it was because they were playing a T1 meta. And when T1 plays T1 metas, T1 is extremely strong and capable of winning these international events. It's when they're not, and also arguably, we could make an argument that MSI last year was a harder tournament than Worlds as well.
Oh, sure.
Because of double elimination. So with the new MSI format over the last couple of years, it rebalances kind of whether it's more important to win Worlds or more important to win MSI. And I think there are debates both ways, but it feels pretty even at the very least. Like, obviously, you have the prestige and the name weight of Worlds, but in terms of actual format to decide a winner, MSI is vastly superior because of double elimination.
No, I've realized. When I even say it, immediately it'll make you just think like, fucking League of Legends, right? Think of this, Monty. Think of the current format of MSI. It doesn't have to be the double impact. Just do the 2 teams from each region. That means all those years, Monty, we could have had Rocks Tigers there with T1. We could have had KT Rolls there. Could have had Dam 1 Plus. Another top 10.
Yeah.
That's so gross to think of, innit? Come on, that's gross.
Yeah.
We could have had half a dozen more Uzi Eye international. You know what? We could have had some amazing shit.
We could have had 0 G2 wins. Realistically,
if it meant those better teams, that'd be legit though, wouldn't it?
We never would have seen Team Liquid or CLG make those deep runs either. So yeah, definitely worse for the West, obviously.
We'll also say as well, by the way, even though I know a fan's logic would be like MMA math, well, if G2 beat Team Liquid, then G2 would have beat IG. We all know that G2 team never fucking beat Chinese teams, boys. So all I'm saying is this: if you're an EU fan, you have to give only a little one, but you have to give a little assist to NA for the alley-oop on that one, because okay, we beat T1, that's pretty good, but they did do us a favour with that bullshit fucking Core JJ series and beat fucking rookies IG. Like, they might never have been the MSI win without that. We can't know. Although, sadly, I do wish I could see that final. If I could run that back and see, like, IG versus G2 in that final, that's also one of my dreams to say. I think that could have been an amazing match, mate.
Yeah.
They were really good at that time.
For sure.
And if people don't know the rumor, it goes. Wasn't there something stupid like they had a fight the day before the Team Liquid? I think there was some stupid rumor that people claimed that like something did happen internally within the org or whatever. But who knows? Who knows?
But anyway, like I think we should start that conversation now because.
What do you think? Where's your take on it? Where would you track them at now?
I mean, if they dominate for the rest, I think if they dominate for the rest of the year, and like Thorin, they're coming up potentially at an all-time win record in LCK. They haven't lost since KT last split, because remember, they didn't lose a series at MSI.
You mean the regular season games before playoffs?
Yeah, the regular season games before playoffs. So if you guys recall, for LCK, they played last split and they had 1 loss, and that loss was to KT Rolster.
Right? KT, right.
Yeah, it was extra funny, obviously, because it was KT. Right. But that loss happened. I'm looking at which week it happened.
I'm gonna guess in early on, like what, week 3 or something. I'm gonna guess.
Yeah, it was pretty early.
I know by the end they were cooking, because obviously they cooked all the top teams, if you remember.
It was week 4. They lost to KT 2-0. And that was.
By the way, I'll tell you another thing to track. Here's something you should look up, because you would appreciate this stat. Dude, I'll bet they're on a mad win streak against T1 now. Like, I bet no one in history's ever had a win streak like this against T1.
That's true. I can't look it up at the moment, but that's true.
Match. But for another show, look it up. I bet it'll be 10 wins or something mad, won't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably, their win streak might go back all the way to the finals.
Well, remember, they won at Worlds as well last year too, with the old lineup. So, dude, they've won loads of matches. Because think about it, in history, it's very rare you win against T1 in any era,
Yeah. And so KT won against GenG in week 4, which was Valentine's Day. February 14th was the last time GenG lost. And ever since then, that was in the first round robin. So you have all of the second round robin, basically, part of the first round robin, the end of the first round, all of the second round robin, all of playoffs, all of MSI, and all of their matches so far, this win streak. So they must be approaching some of the really historic T1 win streaks at this point in time. And I mean, that in and of itself is potentially very impressive. They were 17-1 in best of threes, 34-5 in games. Last split.
This is insane. Think about that. I think that one's the insane one, bro. Remember, it's best of threes. Tons of teams have been top of the league and dropped the game constantly. 34 wins and 5 losses in individual games. That is bonkers, mate. You're playing Korean teams at this point. Like, you should bleed way more than that. That alone, by the way, suggests it could be the greatest team of all time. That's insane.
Thorin, they're playing Hanwha Life right now. As we speak, spoilers, guys. They are up 1-0 on Hanwha Life. That means that they have not lost a game so far this split, and we're in week 3. They are 4-0 in best of threes, 9-0 in terms of games. They win one more. And then at that point in time, Thorin, what really prevents them from winning the first round robin? Like, basically D+ is the only reasonable opponent they have left. Otherwise, they're just facing the bottom of the table.
Obviously, this could turn out to be something that ages poorly. But I would even ask this question. Bro, you're talking about the meta suiting them, it being good. When I look at this team, I'm actually being serious. What meta wouldn't make this team really good? Like, you could make, here's the thing, you could make some of their rivals better. You could do that, Monty. But I think this team could play in any meta. Like, for example, when you're talking about fundamentals, which I agree, that's why the other reason I think we all pick JDG is because a bit like the G2 Super team, you could see that team playing in any era because that style would work against a lot of teams. Like, that strength is one of the best strengths to have. Well, I'll tell you what, I actually think the underrated strength in GenG is the thing we've all seen Chovy get better at every year of his career is, mate, his side laning became god tier 2. Like, they could also win the game in this team, I feel like, without even fighting you. So, like, I think they could work in a lot of metas, this team, mate.
Yeah.
Don't you think so?
Yeah, I mean, we did talk, what could stop JDG, and I think we were accurate in some of these things, which is that when JDG did lose in the regular season, like, a lot of it was Kanavi throws. And then the other thing is, like, it's not that 369 couldn't play carries. It was just that the team was so accustomed to playing weak side that what happens if...
Ruler, why would you play a carries top lane exactly?
Yeah. So it's like, what happens if the meta shifts in a way where some of the tanks are less viable, or you have to play more towards top, which is actually, what happened to a certain degree.
Yeah, true.
And then what we didn't really predict was like double Hail of Blades, T1 expertise in the bot lane, really bullying them out. Picks. Yeah. So
please. I hate it so much. Man, so, that game right there is how you torture me in Guantanamo Bay. You just have me like Malcolm in Clockwork Orange, and all I'm watching is that fucking like game 4, like, get off the sand, soldiers! Like that's I get PTSD off that game. I can't even lie, guys. I have actually rewatched some of that series, but I just watched the first 2 games, which are really good, and I actually have to turn it off. Things I get sad. Like, I can't watch this anymore.
But anyway, like, GenG, it would be shocking if they didn't lose any games this split, but they haven't lost any games so far. And, they've already cleared T1, who is like, arguably the second best team, but no other team in the LCK really looks super great so far. Like, Hanwha has been improving, but I would say Dorn and Peanut have looked pretty shaky. T1, they're perfectly capable of getting advantages, but then they've had a very weird tendency just to throw. Like, they should have 2-0'd Kwangdong. They threw the first game against Kwangdong Freaks, and they almost threw game 2 as well. So T1 really overpressuring, overextending, overplaying their hand a lot of time right now, and they're letting their opponents back in the games.
See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.